Friday. Friday. Hey everyone. It is Friday. I published a new schedule for next week. Just a heads up on that you can catch. I posted it on this page and I posted it on Instagram and on my personal page as well. A lot of people have been friending me, which I appreciate, but I only, if I don't friend you, it's because I have like 3 spots left. You can only have 5,000 friends on personal, so that would be why. Hi, everybody. So the deal with next week is we're going to focus on different products, and I'll give you some of my favorite ways to use those and answer questions about those particular products. I posted a list on the social media channels, and happy to take more requests for next week. Also, I did decide to not go live Saturday, tomorrow, and Sunday because it's our church's big general conference, and I hadn't forgotten that it was conference, but I kind of didn't make the connection that it was this weekend. So I'd rather watch that live if that's okay. So take the weekend off, catch up, and after today, I will see you back on Monday. You can't get rid of me. I always say I'm like a bad rash. I'm like herpes. Once you get me, you never get rid of me. Hey, everyone. So this particular topic was a request, and I do want to address it because I get this question quite a bit. And a lot of people will say when I'm writing on my work, they ask me a couple questions. One question they ask is, are you actually writing something? Or are you just gibberish? And the answer is yes, I'm always writing something. I never just write blah, de blah, de blah. Okay, so we'll talk more about that in a second. And then people will say, can you go back ever and read what you wrote? And the answer to that is no. No, I cannot. And there's a reason for that. One of the reasons is just I like how it looks artistically. There's a term for this kind of writing. It is called Asemic writing. And Asemic writing is marks that have the appearance of text but have no semantic value, meaning it looks like words, but the closer you get, you can't really pick out words. And I was teaching at Simple Pleasures in Colorado Springs last year, and we were talking about Asemic writing, and a gal said, I am president of I don't know if it was Colorado Springs Calligraphy Guild or the Colorado Calligraphy Guild. I can't remember. But she said that Asemic writing is one of the biggest trends in calligraphy right now, which I thought was so cool and interesting. And I have a board on Pinterest called Asemic writing. I think it's Asemic writing or Asemic marks. It might be Asemic marks. I'm not sure. Hi, you guys. Fun to see some familiar faces. Hello. And I've been pinning some work from calligraphers who have been writing with an Asemic style. So calligraphers are taking their really cool letter forms, and they're creating them in non-legible ways. By the way, I just saw Alfie pop on. Alfie owns Indigo Blue, and also the travel tour company that is doing the India trips. I talked to him today and totally agree that we need to postpone that India trip for 1 full year. So the India trip will happen in 2021. So there's plenty of time to sign up and save your money. I'm really excited about it. My husband works with a lot of his coworkers are from India, and they were so excited that I was going there. They were telling us all about it. So anywho, keep that in mind that a lot of these events aren't necessarily getting canceled, but they are just getting rescheduled. So we'll be back, right? We'll be back. All right, so back to Asemic writing. So another reason besides the artistic effect that I really like about Asemic writing is it gives me a little bit of privacy. And so when I write in this kind of goofy way, it just means that you guys can't read what I'm saying. And yeah, Rubina, you should come. And so in that sense, it's, especially since a lot of my work I plaster on the interwebs, it's just a little bit of privacy. What I think is fascinating personally about seeing text on a piece is that our brains want to decode it. And I don't know if it's the English major in me, that the fact that I have always loved to read, and that I used to read and write. Frankly, I love writing as well, and I like to think I'm a poet, though I haven't honed my craft for a long time. But when I was in third grade, I wrote a poem for an assignment. My teacher was Mr. Fannin from Garfield Elementary in Heath, Ohio. It's Asemic, Asemic. And I wrote a poem, and he called my parents and asked them if I had copied it from a Hallmark card, but I had written it. So anyway, words are just awesome. Words are powerful. Words are meaningful. Words can be anything from graffiti on a wall to sublime. Yeah, I'm a poet and I know it. So anyway, it just makes me happy. So let's talk about how you get your writing to look that way. And it's so deceptively simple, you guys. And one more comment though, before I move it to that, is sometimes I will write legibly. So this is just sort of like basic kindergarten printing. And then I'll combine it with writing that is Asemic, illegible. Okay. So a lot of people will say, I tried Asemic writing and I couldn't do it. And I don't know how to do it. The bottom line is it's an exaggeration of letter forms. And so if we are writing something, I love Asemic writing. And the great thing about it is it doesn't really matter that what kind of handwriting you have, because we're going to be altering it anyway. So it truly doesn't matter. So what I like to do is I like to start. No, Rubina, I cannot read my own writing when I write asemically. I cannot read it later. Every now and then I can pick out a word. All right, so this is called an ascender, right? In cursive. This is called a descender in cursive. So I exaggerate. I exaggerate my ascenders and descenders. So Yvonne says her writing is getting more Asemic as time goes on. Mine is too, actually. There was once a gal in class, and she was saying that people are always hard on doctors because of their writing. And she's like, you don't realize how much they write. They write and write and write all day. So anyway, now they type and type and type all day. My boys I'm going to throw them under the bus a little bit. My 3 boys do not have good handwriting. It is not good. It was because, they grew up in the typing generation. My oldest son, when he was on his church mission, he found a typewriter in a thrift store. He said to the lady, does that still work? And the lady said, hey, plug it in. If it works, you can have it. She had been there so long that she gave my kid this typewriter. So he brought it home. We could still buy ribbons for it, actually. And so he started typing letters home because he was just better at typing than writing. So times certainly have changed. But anyway, so the other thing that I change, sidetrack, attention deficit, squirrel. Another thing that I change when I do Asemic writing is the spacing between letters. So, normally letters have to have a certain spacing so that they're legible. Well, in Asemic, I squish them all together. So if I was going to write this in an Asemic way, I'd start. I might do that. And that W doesn't even make sense that it's that big, but it doesn't matter, right? But it does say I love Asemic writing. That's just, I promise it does. And so for me, the main issues are letter spacing, and then the exaggeration of, hey, Lorraine. Lorraine, I have been wanting to call you. You've been on my mind so much. Oh my gosh, we've got to talk. Anyway, ascenders and descenders that exaggeration makes a huge difference for me. And then the other thing is practice, practice, practice. So write yourself a word and then write it crazy. The other thing is, I had another point and I just went out of my poor pea brain. Oh, I write quickly. So Asemic writing is not something that I'm being slow and deliberate about. The quicker you go, so I'm going to write quickly, then the less control you have over the finished text, right? So move your hand quicker to get that look. And it really is as simple as that. It really is. If you want to, and I always say I'm not the person to teach you lettering. You know, Diane Reevely does that really cool font. I watched her do it. She comes down and she has I can't even do it. And she'll tell you it took her a decade to learn to write that way. You know, practice. So, you know, that's my secret. It's so simple. Is it worth a video? I don't know if it's worth a video, but that's my secret. So that brings me to the next question that people ask all the time. Yes, Joyce, I have no expectation of reading it later. No expectation of reading it later. It's just getting it out and saying it and calling it good. And then the other thing is, it just feels good to write, you know. And I come from a long history of writing in journals. So the second question, let me rewind. The second question that I get asked a lot is, I just don't know what to write. First of all, I hate my handwriting. Wah, wah, wah. I'll just call the ambulance. Trust me, nobody gives a rip, especially when you're exaggerating it and squishing letters together. It's totally fine. Number two, I don't know what to write. And so I'm going to address that now. Tell you my philosophy on what to write. And Jean, that's a good question. I will address that in 1 second. Is that okay? She asked, how do you decide placement? All right. So this, my friends, is volume 1 of my extensive journal collection. So this is the Journal of Dina Speed. Yes, that is my maiden name. I started it March 28th, 1979, and finished it August 8th, 1982. And the very first entry, and I wrote it in pencil, and my dad later came back and said, you should never write your journal in pencil because it would just be so easily erased one day, and that would be a tragedy. So I went back at another time and I started writing over my first entry back in pen, which is why it looks like blurry. But that was the day of my grandmother's funeral. She died when I was 9. And so this is the first journal out of many that I have on my shelf. And so since I was a little kid, I have always wanted to write myself down, and I've been very comfortable writing myself down. And my journals have been kind of a non-judgmental confidant when I really needed it, and have morphed and changed over the years. So here I wrote what I got for my birthday in 1982. I got an italic pen, a nightgown, body talc, probably caused cancer, and I got £2.50. We must have been living in England at that time. So anyway, I really believe in that. And so what does this have to do with our art journaling? If you can develop a journal practice in general, the journaling in your art journal will come easier. It really will. Now, this is kind of intimidating, though, to have this big fancy book that says journal on the front, and it just seems like a lot. So let me give you some tips for if you don't, for journaling, if you don't feel like doing something this big and this official. This lately has been my journal of choice. I still keep a big one now and then, but I love this. And you don't necessarily have to buy this book to do this concept. I just thought it was cute and that it was kind of a fun little startup, and so I gave them my money. This is the best journal ever. But what's fun about it is that it has the date. You're supposed to write when you woke up and when you went to sleep. But yeah, that's too much detail for my right brain. I am grateful for, there's 3 things. So gratitude, gratitude journals will change your life. If you're not following along with the Show Us Your Media Gratitude Challenge, go check that out on my blog. I even posted some cool links to the power of gratitude and writing gratitude down. And then you're supposed to write an affirmation, which I later gave up. I gave up the affirmations. And then a short little thing to basically write a paragraph or 2. And what I like about that is that it doesn't feel like pages and pages that you have to fill. Now, you could just do this concept in any old blank journal, right? But here I wrote, I'm grateful for wearing real pants today. Progress. Wow, that's... it must have been, that was after my hysterectomy. Reed, weird at home without him. He's been in Dallas. And Tillamook yogurt. Yum. So, you're being grateful for small little things helps. Cold call today, feeling better every day. Zelda is snuggling. I'm grateful for my eye is improving. I don't know what happened to my eye. Oh, I got that spider bite. Going to lunch with friends, cooler than normal temperatures. So it's nice. And then sometimes I elaborate down here on one of my grateful lists, or I just, woke up worrying. Hard to turn my mind off. Grateful to go to the temple. Having a slow morning. So anyway, why not, right? And this is so much more accessible. This will take you 5 minutes in a day. I also collect a lot of prompt books. So my dad gave me this one. He gave this to me and all my siblings, and he wanted us to all fill it out and then send it back to him. And I think at our big family reunion, we were all supposed to compare answers, but I was the only one that finished it. Ever the first child, dutiful person, right? But what's nice about it is, what 3 things would you leave in a time capsule for people to open in 50 years? I wrote journal, smartphone and charger, the blood of my enemies, just kidding. So anyway, it's just yet another way to write yourself down. And prompts are very easy to answer. A lot of these just had 1-word answers, and some had more. Yeah, okay. So another idea, these prompt fill in the list books. This is another book kind of like that. I love listography. So list fun things you've done in your town. List your proud accomplishments. List your favorite books, people you've lived with, your favorite toys you played with as a child. So all of these lists turn into fodder for your art journal, because let's say you feel like writing, but nothing's coming to your head that day. You flip through your lists, right? And then this says, list your favorite toys you played with as a child, big wheel. Well, all of a sudden, all these memories about my big wheel comes in my head. And can't I just write that on the page? So here's another secret of mine, is that the text that goes on my page has little to nothing to do with the art that's on the page. The art is just what I felt like at the time, and I may have made it weeks or months earlier. What the text that gets written may have absolutely nothing to do with the imagery. Absolutely nothing. Because I don't write the same day that I make. I just very rarely do that, except in class. Okay, so list books are awesome. I collect these books. I must have 30 or 40 or more. And some of them come out in periodical form. So this is the Breathe Special List Journal that and some of them I just save for the prompts. I don't necessarily fill them out, but I just collect them. This one is Bella Grace. So this is full of prompts that you can answer. So like I said, when I see these, I buy them. I absolutely love them. Here's another one, the 52 list projects. There's also the 52 creative lists. This one has a whole series. More prompts. List your dream trips. List the things that make you feel healthy. So I could list the things that make me feel healthy. And then again, that is fodder for your journaling. And my art journal is not a journal that I keep for a record for posterity. Okay, that's for me personally, and no one else. And so that's why I don't worry about it. Marilyn, yeah, I can put these on my blog, but I mean, some of them I bought in the clearance bins at Barnes and Noble. Keep your eye open. Like if you go into a bookstore, you will find, you might even find a whole section of books like these prompt books. There's just dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of them. But yeah, I can list them. And then I also collect quote books. Yeah, Adana, I will post the titles on my blog and on Art of Dina Wakely Facebook page. So yes, I will absolutely do that. So Diane and I both collect quote books, because sometimes a quote, you really don't have anything that you feel like writing. So can't you just write a quote? Well, absolutely. So this one is one based on that wonderful book, Wonder. And then I have many others. In fact, Diane Reevely and I often gift each other quote books because I know both of us like them. She writes them. She rewrites the quotes in journals just as a practice. Legible journals, kind of calms your mind. Your best takes your time. Isn't that good? Some of these I need to rip out of the book and put on my wall. Anyway, so quote books are also good sources. So let's put this into practical application. Okay. Earlier there was a question, where do you put the writing? So if you go back to last week's, gosh, how many weeks have I been doing these demos? I don't even remember anymore. But if you go back to, okay, hold on. Rewind. That's a really good idea. Yvonne, she has an ongoing note in her phone with quotes that she comes across. Awesome idea. That reminds me, there are some journaling apps on your phone that you can buy. Does anybody remember? I don't have I'm using my phone to broadcast, so I can't pull them up. Grid Diary has prompts that you can fill. Grid Diary is one of the ones I tend to use the most. And there's another one called Day One, DAY and then ONE. So they're journaling apps that will help you on your phone if you're more of a phone person. And what's fun about the journaling apps on your phone is that you can talk to text into them. So talk to text, and then you don't even have to use your fat thumbs to write your journaling. All right. So question earlier. I want to refer you back to layer placement in the videos when we talked about critique and in the videos when we talked about collage. Because when you add writing to a piece of artwork, you are adding a layer. And does anybody remember what the Dina Wakely policy is to make layers look cohesive? There's going to be a long pause here while your answers finally show up, because there's a long pause before I see your answers than what's spoken out of my mouth. What is the Dina Wakely rule? Yes, they need to connect, Barb. Exactly. Overlapping. And so that, Yvonne, everyone's like, ding, ding, ding. People that have been in class a lot too are like, yawn, we could teach this. So I do like my text to be considered a layer. And I like my layer to overlap. And because we said earlier that journaling is going to draw your eye in and it's going to make you want to read it, I like to have my journaling near my focal point. Because that, if I write something crazy out here, that is going to drive your eye out here, right? And it's going to, lead your eye away. And it doesn't necessarily have to touch the edges, though it could if you want it to. But the bottom line, it needs to be near or directing to or supporting the focal point. And so I was just messing around with this. I've been watching Making the Cut on Amazon. You Project Runway fans, have you been watching Making the Cut? It's Tim Gunn and Heidi Klum back with a different kind of fashion show. It's pretty good. Anyway. So while I was watching that, I was painting this. And so what we want to do is decide where the journaling is going to be. Now, there's not one right answer. Okay. If you put your journaling out here and you like it, then guess what? That there's nobody needs to say anything beyond that. This is all gospel according to Dina. And Dina's gospel is that the text will draw your eye, and I want you to look at what I want you to look at first, which is the focal. Therefore, I will connect text or use it to point towards the focal. So I would say the focal point is these three figures. What options do you have to write then? It's so hard. Can you guys tell I'm normally a questioner when I teach classes? I normally have a lot of class interaction, so it's so weird for me to be in my messy studio. Anyway, I love Tim Gunn. He's freaking awesome. What are my options for text then? If I want it to point to my focal point, okay, so Barb says up the sides. So around the figures, what else? That's where you see that from me a lot, don't you? That's kind of one of my crutches, I guess. What else, guys? Yep, inside their bodies is always a good idea. Marilyn, it's on Amazon Prime. Yeah, I could write straight across, right? Straight across. So this one's very typical of me, right? Text right in the figures. Across the horizon, like here. Yep, grounding you down that direction. I could even have it flowing out the top of their heads, right? Okay, but no matter what I'm not going to do is float it off here in the corner with no connection whatsoever, okay? What about writing in the two skeleton figures? Maybe. It would draw your eye to them. It would kind of draw your eye here. But if these guys are strong enough, it might pop your eye back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, if you like Project Runway, you'll love making the cut. It's really fun to watch. All right, so normally, did you see that one? Okay, normally I would kind of write in their bodies vertically. Let's do it a little different this time. Let's do coming out from the top of their heads. And remember, if you don't know what to write, you're going to turn to your prompt books, you're going to turn to your journals, you're going to turn to gratitude, you're going to turn to quotes. I write whatever is in my mind. So like right now I'm teaching people what to write, and whatever is in my mind is what is going to come out of my pen, and that is how I do it. I don't know any other way. And this kind of writing, am I shaking the table? Sorry about that. Makes me happy. Sorry about the table shaking. All right. So that's a little different than I would normally do, but it still works. Travis, okay, you're going to laugh so hard, Travis, because I have written my shopping list on my artwork. I've also written things like, I really don't want to do my laundry today. So Joyce, this is a Fude ball. It's a Japanese pen. Ranger does distribute these pens. So check with your local retailers. A lot of them order them. They're like $4 or $5 and they're awesome. Diane Reevely hates this pen. Adana, it's dinawakely.com and then click on blog. So Diane hates this pen because it's too fat and it's too shiny, but I love this pen because it writes on acrylic paint, and it's so difficult to find pens that write on paint. Paint pens will write on paint, and if I weren't using the Fude ball, I would probably be using a paint pen like a Posca. not all pens are equal, and pens are personal. So something that I love, you may hate, and that's fine. This pen is a pigment-based ink, meaning that it lays that ink down, it sits on top, and then it dries from, it has to evaporate to dry. It's not soaking down in. Once it's dry, it's definitely permanent, but it will water activate before it's dry. Okay. But I usually write at the end of things. I don't usually write at the beginning, though sometimes, I always, there's exceptions to every rule, but in general, that is not something that I do. Because again, I like to write over dried paint. If you write over wet paint, you'll kill your pen. I've never killed a Posca, but I've come pretty darn close. The bottom line is, write wait till stuff's dry, which is another argument for waiting. April, it will smear right now if I press it, or if I rub over it. If tomorrow I come back and rub over it, it will not smear, because it dries very slowly. Because I've just put this pigment-based ink on top of plastic, which is what paint is, right? The white pens that I love are definitely Poscas. When I was in Japan, and I know not everybody can go to Japan, but these might be available on some of the pages that sell Japanese pens, like jet pens. So when I was in Japan, I bought these to try, and I really like them. They're called Pilot Juice Paint, and Pilot Juice is also a gel pen brand. I don't like the Juice gel pens at all. They're just, I don't know. And I have a Japanese pen fetish in general. I have a sickening amount of Japanese pens. When I go to Tokyo Disney, which I love, I buy pens from Tokyo Disney. Look at these. I haven't even opened them. Aren't they so cool? Tokyo Disney pens. These are some of my latest Japanese purchases. These are like a felt tip that click. They're pretty fun. All right. I could go on and on. This is another one of my latest Japanese purchases. Got it in Tokyo. Some multicolor, and you can pick the colors. Anyway, I could talk. When the zombies come to eat our brains, I will be journaling. I can write a journal about it because I can. I've got enough. I've got drawers full. It's a sickness. But I could be on crack, right? So hey, there you go. All right, so the point is, I found these Pilot Juice paint pens in Tokyo, and I really like them, and I haven't killed one. And they come in lots of nice, fun colors. Oop, let me just throw them. I think I used my white one all the way. But every now and then, sometimes it's just nice to have text in another color. Your black text will become dominant always. And so sometimes having that text in colors that is not black, it will give you that visual interest and not take over. So if you go to Japan, you don't need to bring a big suitcase, you just need to bring a lot of money. Because pens and paper don't take up a lot of room, but oh my gosh, the stuff you bring home, people, it is awesome. Kathy, don't murder pens. Don't wait till everything's dry. I tend to be super impatient and not wait, but I feel ya. When I go to a local store that has Poscas, I always buy them because, when I see them, I buy them. So I've got a big collection of Poscas as well. Paint writes on paint, which is why Poscas work really well for that. And again, everyone will say this pen works for me, and then somebody will come in and say, no, it won't. It won't. So Karen, I have some Asemic writing type stamps. They were earlier in my line. But yeah, I do. Some of mine do exist out there. But those are my secrets for Asemic writing. Any questions, my friends? Pens and Dina colors, wouldn't that be nice? Dina, do you lose your purchases? I lose my mind and everything else. Yeah, there's way worse things to be addicted to than pens. way worse things. It's an illness. The Fude ball does write on gloss spray. Yes, it does. Let me show you that. I just gotta find some gloss spray. So, shoot, that gloss spray is too dark. So this is gloss spray, this whole piece. And as you can see, once dry, the Fude ball does write on it fine. I mean, it works for me. I mean, I'm happy with it. Gonna take, again, have a long dry time. There is this thing called a heat tool you could probably whip out and, you know, heat it, but I don't even own one. Right? So yes, the Fude definitely works on Joan. I like the way you think. She said buying pens might get expensive, but it's not fattening. I don't even know if I have a red and a blue right now. Oh yes, I do. Oh, I have a red. It's just light. The ink's so much lighter. I mean, it's definitely working, but the red is not super. Ooh, maybe I killed it. Oh man, I haven't used it in a really long time. Yep, the end is dry. Let's see if I can resurrect it. One of the great things about having an apron that's got a lot of paint on the apron is that I can often resurrect. I can tell the ball's not moving. See how look at it in there. See how it's all gunked up and dry because I haven't used this one in so long. Oh my gosh, it's empty. Look, do you see it? Do you see the... This is why the red won't work. There's no ink. Okay, I don't have a red, apparently. Before it ran out all the way, it was working. Don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I hate letting things dry. La, 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 la. I had attention deficit squirrel though, right? All right, so I found a Fude ball, tried writing on acrylic paint and heat drying it. Just let it air dry. It really will be fine. But I usually write last and then I just, you know, I promise I haven't had a problem with it coming off. The only thing the Fude ball sometimes doesn't want to write over is really thick scribble stick. Because the binders and the scribble sticks sometimes just don't lend themselves to being written on. All right, my friends. Any last questions? Last call for questions. And I will list the books that I mentioned today. And I'll put that on my blog, and I will put that on my Art of Dina Wakley Facebook page. Pilot Pintor markers. They're very similar to Poscas. Just if you have a Posca, you don't need the Pilot juice. I just got them because I thought, well, let's try those. It says they're paint pens. And they do come in different tips. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a great weekend. And I will flare up like a rash on your thighs on Monday. Don't forget, Tim goes live tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And Diana, we're just ending. All right. Yeah, you'll see me on Tim's show tomorrow. How many pens is too many? Infinity is too many. Yep, Tim tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll see you guys there. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you later.